what are your recommendations on how people can overcome this guilt and fear and shame, to really just take those next steps?
I'm glad you asked that. So I actually put together an entire masterclass around this solution for specifically your audience. I think so often we're not taught about our internal self. And it's like the Black community, we know like therapy is taboo, personal development, that means we're hippies, all of these things until, sometimes like Oprah's making a bit more mainstream with her channel. And so the biggest piece that I could say from a high level is you have to have a community of like-minded people around you. That is hands down the number one thing, if you like, no matter what, because you can do all this other work. And if you go back to people that are naysayers, it's inevitable you're gonna, relapse and fall back into, maybe they're right. Maybe, you and I were talking about this right before the call. I have a client who, she's in her 40s. She's an awesome Black Christian woman. And she said to me, I've wanted to travel for so long and I've wanted to live abroad for so long. And everybody kept saying, wait till you get married, wait on your husband. And she's like, I waited and I waited and I waited and I still waited and I believed them. And I told her, well, they didn't lie to you. It's just nobody can predict your time to find that one. And she said, right. But now that I'm, in my mid 40s, I still am yet to even pursue that dream. And I still don't have that husband and family. So I should have just been pursuing that dream, right?
And you could have met that husband and family somewhere else in the world too, right?
And I actually believe like when you're your best self, and if that travel, which is why I say, I don't convince you to try to move abroad. It's if you already have that inside of you, because I want it to be authentic to you. That's what Honest Courage is all about. This is for you, not because, for example, your daughter might grow up and say, I think I just want to stay in the US. And you might just be like, wait, what? We raised you all over the place. And maybe for her, it's right. So now I just want to, live like the rest of my peers. And that's okay. So it goes back to like, what do you really want? And having a sense of urgency around it. If you wait on your husband who might be in the country that you wanted to go to, however, he's never going to find you. And this is not relationship advice, but this is like for life, right? I truly believe when you are showing up as the best version of yourself, and part of that is pursuing what you know in your heart you want to do. It goes back to climbing up that ladder and making sure it was up against the right wall for you. That's really like the core of all of it, and how to make sure you're not falling into that trap. It's the tribe of people, and it's really understanding, like digging deep about what you really want to experience.
Mm-hmm. No, I love that. I think that is, an excellent point in terms of just overcoming that fear, in terms of just finding, community of like-minded folks that are just, thinking the same way that you're thinking. We do it all the time in many other ways, like the Black Business School is a community because, everybody's family about that, start your own business ownership life. They want to, work in corporate America, have a good job, have a good salary. Type of life, which is fine and okay if that aligns with your goals. I think the challenge is sometimes, or a lot of times, people with that mindset may not have completely thought about the goals for themselves and for their family. So they just kind of go on the beaten path of the way everyone else is doing it because that's the only way that they know. And right. I think the same is very true with travel. I'm sorry, go ahead.
You said a word that I really just want to point out and emphasize to everyone: aligns with who you are. Right? Alignment is really the key to all of this. And it's like when you think about your values, and if you're like, oh, I'm actually really, one thing I learned about myself from living abroad is I am adventurous as hell, right? I have a friend who literally says to me all the time, I feel like you're always on an adventure. So he'll just message me like, what adventure are you on now? And I'm like, I'm sleeping. What are you talking about? However, there's other times where like I look back at my life and I'm like, wow, I remember visiting the apartment I lived in grad school as a 22-year-old when I was maybe 32. And I just stood there and looked at it and I was like, wow, my 22-year-old self would kill to meet my 32-year-old self.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And like the alignment of that, like think about where you are now, right? Pretty sure you know, your college self wouldn't believe you if you said, you're going to be living in Colombia with your wife and your daughter and running the Black business school with your brother. You'd be like, what are you talking about?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think that you are 100% correct with that. And my friends have, always say the same thing about me is, where's Lawrence in the world right now? Or what adventure is he on right now? Those types of things. And, it's funny because day in and day out, my life is pretty, I don't want to call it boring, but I get up, I do my work, I strategize, I plan, I have conversations with people. And then I just go on my balcony and look over the amazing view. I guess that's the only thing that's different.
Do you know how much you're simplifying this? Let's back up a bit. You're like, I get up, I have conversations with people. You're like, I have conversations with world changers and leaders and speakers. And then I run this awesome empire that's literally shifting and breaking cycles for Black people around the world of wealth building. But you're like, no, I just get up and talk to people about stuff, and then I look outside.
Yeah, but I think that's you are correct, right? In terms, I don't want to diminish in terms of the work that we do or my day in and day out type of lifestyle. But I think it comes down to freedom, and it also comes down to, no matter if you're having a conversation with, presidents of corporations or something, or academic university presidents or whatever, like, I do on a regular basis, that type of thing. Or you're just talking to someone, in the street corner about the latest ball game, right? It's still just interesting conversations that you're having, yep. Right? I mean, the changing the world, that, gets some people off. I mean, they are happy about that. They are excited about that, and I understand that I am excited about doing that. But, I think just a lot of times is your life interesting? Is your life engaging?
Is it fulfilling to you? Like, to me, that's
fulfilling to you.
Yep. Because what one person would say about having that conversation about the latest ball game, if you talk about baseball, I'm like, who won the World Cup? Whatever. But if you talk about basketball, I'm excited about it. But then I know men who don't play sports or like sports. And I'm like, kudos to you for being true to yourself and not being like, well, I'm supposed to be a manly man and like sports. They're like, no, I just don't, And one of my friends says, business is my sport. I'm like,
yeah.
Works for me.